Joe Vizio here. I don't know if you guys can see me better or worse. Got me a new camera position here. Guess the other one, where I had my mount was a little cumbersome on my wife when she was driving, so I mean, it's probably not the safest thing in the world what I'm doing, but I definitely don't want my wife to feel any of the backlash from it. So here I am, looking at you from a whole new perspective. So hope it works out. Got a further view of my ugly mug this time, so so I figured I would just kind of tell some stories, just kind of keep it going, what's on my mind. And this particular story I'd like to tell is about a trip that we took to Florida. I was 12 years old. I was living with my father. And him and his girlfriend, the one that I would consider like my stepmother, they were kind of, taking a break, I guess. Things got a little bit messed up there. I don't know what the full story was, but it may have had something to do with me having to come and live with him. We were just in a 2-bedroom apartment, and so things they were friendly, but it's a far stretch from living with each other, which is what they probably did for the previous 5 years or so. So we had decided to take a trip to Florida. We were actually going down there to, I think it was a delivery mission where my stepmother's sister needed to go down to Florida to stay with her brother, who I affectionately term Ned Flanders, because that's exactly what he's like. So this lady, as we were kids and probably a little bit cruel, we had dubbed 2-Ton Terry, because Terry was probably about 300 pounds. She was mildly retarded. I mean, enough to where she couldn't live on her own, which is why she was going to stay with Ned Flanders. And so it was my stepmother, her 2 boys, me, my father, and Terry, 2-Ton Terry. They were driving to Florida, and the vehicle we had was like a compact station wagon. It wasn't one of the big full-size ones that you've seen coming out of the 70s and 80s. This was the I guess our first years of doing the compact station wagon. So that's what we were going down in. Which when they pulled up, my 2 stepbrothers, since their mom was the one that rented the car and they were in it, they had already claimed their window seats, which left me sitting on the hump in the middle of the car next to 2-Ton Terry, which that wasn't going to happen. And if my memory serves me correct, my father really wasn't so happy about this trip at all. I guess once she pulled up and he seen the size of this car, and he was thinking, oh, there's no way we're going to cram 4 kids in the back of this with everybody's suitcases to stay 2 weeks in Florida and drive to... No. But, after an almost fight, we got in the car and we headed off. And that whole sitting in the middle. You know, me and Terry were the biggest ones, so it really wasn't comfortable for us to sit in the middle, you know. So I had just come up with the idea of just laying the seats down, piling up the luggage, and then all of us just kind of camping out in the back, which is what we did, which was still not comfortable, but was a lot more comfortable for all of us together than you know, trying to sit up like Frankenstein in these seats with the two big people sitting on the hump. So, and if you were a kid and you had to get in the back seat with your brothers and sisters, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We always had that problem because my father, especially like when we later on in life, when we moved to Florida, my father had to have a cool car. You know, he had himself a Camaro. And by the time the two boys moved down and my sister was down, you're talking about cramming 4 kids in the back seat of a Camaro. That was probably some of the most uncomfortable, nightmarish, feeling claustrophobic and getting stuck times that I've ever faced. So, anyway, back to my story. We're got the seats laid down. We're all kind of camping out in the back, which wasn't as bad. And, you know, we were on our way to take a 18 to 20 hour trip from Philadelphia down to Florida. And, you know, it was, I have to say, you know, I mean, a good time, you know, getting to look out the windows and see all that stuff. I had taken a similar trip a lot younger when my mother's real mother took us down to Florida, which that is a story for another video, let me tell you. I haven't even scratched that surface. So, here we go. We're on our way to Florida and getting to see some sights and all that. That was cool, but me and these other two boys would have made you think that we were starving to death. I guess we were kind of on a budget, and so meals were stopping at McDonald's and, you know, getting us boys a hamburger Happy Meal, which, you know, we're talking about a 12-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 10-year-old. You know, we were hungry kids, man. We were growing boys. So, I mean, that was kind of uncomfortable, but I'm not going, would never class that as any kind of an abuse or anything. You know, just that it happened. You know, they didn't starve us to death, but, you know, we just... But anyway, it just kind of made the trip a little more uncomfortable because, you know, us boys were already cranky. Now we're hungry and cranky, and hot. It was hot. We were coming from Philly. It was the summertime, and the further south we get, the hotter it's getting. And you know, these cars back then, they weren't like the ones we have today, where some of them, each seat has its own separate air conditioning unit. No, that didn't happen. You had one set of air conditioning vents that were in the front of the car, and if they blowed to the back, feel lucky. And this time, you know, we had kind of a wall of luggage build up separating the front seats and the back seats, so that kind of wasn't helping our case out any. So, me being the genius I am, I've decided to kind of make myself a bed on top of this luggage, which I'm sure the other two boys and 2-ton Terry really didn't mind because it gave them a little bit more room in the back. You I had cut myself out a nice little niche. And most important thing is, I could feel some of that air conditioning. And I don't know what it was that annoyed my father about that and set him off. I had said something that made him take notice where I was. And he just, which by the way, this is the earliest memory I have of him hitting me closed fist. And I've always said he started hitting me at 13 years old. I was 12 years old. This was the first time me having a memory of getting hit closed fist. When he just took his arm and he went back like that twice. And, of course my face was right there. And, he had gotten me twice in the face pretty good. And I was dazed, and I kind of just slid down that mountain of luggage into the back, and the two stepbrothers and Terry are just kind of in shock because they couldn't believe what they just seen, especially since, I really didn't do anything. It's not like I was getting smart or I had rolled my eyes or anything. I was just kind of laying there, and my comment was probably something like, man, the guy ahead of us is getting slow. And that's when he noticed that I was there, and then I got the... And I remember looking at the oldest of the boys. Man, I think he hit me as hard as he could. And really, I was just kind of... I was dazed for a second. I just kind of, cried it out a little bit, and, I don't think anybody thought I was being a crybaby because they witnessed what happened. Just kind of let it ride. I definitely, I'd rather stay back here and be hot than try and get up there and run the risk of getting punched in the face because I was high. So, the trip went. By far wasn't an easy trip because, imagine you got three boys back there fighting, and, Terry, who was, I guess I want to use a good word, she was mildly mentally disabled, at least to the capacity where she couldn't fully care for herself, but she wasn't, like bad. She was just slow. And of course, she's kind of fighting with us too. So the trip was kind of hell. So we get all the way down into Tampa, Florida, which is where Ned Flanders lived, and this was kind of like a luxury to us. Ned Flanders had done pretty good for himself on his job and had bought himself a nice Florida-style home with a pool. And us boys were beside ourselves, man. They got a pool. We spent all of our time in the pool, except for the one day that we did get to go up to Disney. And as we were on kind of a budget, I guess, it was a kind of an express Disney trip. We did Disney and Epcot in the same day, and I guess we had an agenda because we only did the one day at Disney. And when we get in there and we get the map, us boys are just beside ourselves. Oh my God, they have a go-kart track here, and you can drive the karts, and that's what we wanted to do, man. We wanted to go hit them go-karts. And when we eventually did get over there, as disappointing as they were, because you really couldn't drive them. It had like a bar that kept you on the track, and You know, it was just kind of a dummy. Hey, Mom, look at me, I'm driving. And yeah, it was really nothing compared to what I got over it. But, you know, we weren't going to go over there and do what the kids wanted to do. We were there to do what my father wanted to do. This was his trip. So we were kind of at his mercy on what we were going to do. And, you know, and if you can imagine, you got 3 excited boys walking around shops. Now, we can't have anything, and understandably so, especially now as an adult that lives in Disney, that lives in this area. You know, oh, you know, I'm not buying you a $37 Mickey cup. So, you know, we couldn't have anything. So us boys are kind of stuck walking around the shops doing what the adults want to do instead of going to the rides, which is what we wanted to do. And, you know, anybody taking your kids to Disney, I mean, look, do the rides and stuff like that. Let your kids get that out of their system, and then take them over to the shops where, you know, if they're old enough, they'll more than likely just sit on the bench and clown around with each other, or while you go in there and you can do your shopping or whatever you want to do. But don't take a couple kids into Disney and the first thing you're doing is walking around the shops making sure your friends get Disney souvenirs so you can prove to them that you went to Disney. You don't do that with kids. I mean, at least that's the way I kind of look at it. And as we're walking around these shops, you know, I guess none of us were really happy, none of us kids. And, you know, I guess my father had expressed his unhappiness at my unhappiness. And, you know, and he had said that we're going to go look at the go-karts later and just shut my mouth, which was disappointing. And I must have showed some disappointment emotion on my face, which was completely unacceptable. Now, let's play a game. What do you do in that situation? Do you just kind of let your kid sulk it out? Do you just kind of take them privately and they listen, you know, I don't care, this is what I'm going to do. If you don't like it, you know, we're just going to go home? Or do you start just beating your kid in the middle of Main Street, USA in Disney World? Well, my father didn't do any of those. Because the narcissist really doesn't like to show their ass in front of people. It's one thing to show his ass in front of his girlfriend and the 2 boys because they witness it all the time. It's normal. But if he would have started beating me in the middle of Main Street, USA, I'm sure somebody would have had something to say about it. I mean, Goofy would have come up and stuck one of them size 23s up his ass. So he very nonchalantly grabs the back of my hair, pulls my head back to where I'm looking up at the sky, but it is not the sky that I see. It is my father's face getting closer and closer to mine as he puts his mouth over my nose and proceeds to bite my nose. In the middle of Disney, the happiest place on earth, my father is trying to be a covert narcissist and bite my nose so that nobody notices him biting my nose. Did you get that? He bit my nose. Bit. Like an animal. In the middle of Disney. Because I was disappointed that we weren't going to the rides, that we were just standing there in the stores. I was 12 years old. The other 2 boys were disappointed too. But I guess once they seen what happened to me, they snapped right to it. Not that my father would have done anything to them, because I'm sure Kathy would have beat the fuck out of him if he did. So, we took pictures. And I will never forget one of those pictures. It happened like just after the nose biting incident. There was like an advertisement display for those very go-karts. And the two boys were sitting in the go-kart. I was standing beside it so we can get our picture taken. And when that film was developed, I remember Ned Flanders looking at the pictures, and he was saying, "Geez, Joey, look at the look on your face, man. You are miserable." And for me, yeah. I didn't want to say why I was miserable. I didn't want to tell him that I just had my nose bit in front of everybody. But happiest place on earth, man. So, I mean, I don't know. Am I reaching for it on that one there? I mean, I would handle it differently. I mean, first of all, if I'm going to Disney, I'm not going to Disney for myself. You know, I mean, yeah, I want to do some things because I'm there, but it's about the kids. At some time, you have to say, this isn't going to be about me. And let it be about your fucking kids for once. I mean, geez, you're in Disney. Let your kids ride the rides a little bit. Do the shops later. Have a meeting place. I mean, we were kind of old enough. I mean, I was responsible enough to know how to read a map. Okay, you have your watch on. Go over here. Meet back here at this place at 3 o'clock. We could have easily have done that. Especially back at that time. You know, I was what was called a latchkey kid. You know, when I come home from school, my mother was at work. There was nobody home to babysit me. I got home about 3 o'clock, and my mom didn't get home until 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. So we had a key, and, well, my sister kept the key. So if she stayed after school for something, I was fucked, sitting outside of the house waiting for her. But, you know, we came into the house, we watched ourselves, we never burned down the house, we never had to have the fire department or the police come over or anything. Nowadays, you know, yeah, you would get put in jail for leaving your kids home alone. We started out, I was a latchkey kid at 8 years old. So, but anyway, I wouldn't have gotten myself into that situation. You know, and a prime example, you know, today at the dinner table, my daughter was putting up a protest because she didn't want to eat her carrots. And it was me and my wife are trying to make her eat the carrots. I mean, it was even one where I had her, oh, look at the fan. Yeah, the fan's going to move. Keep watching it. When she opened her mouth, I popped a little carrot in her mouth, which was funny. Everybody was laughing. And but my daughter was protesting. And I had to tell her, you know, if you don't eat your carrots and you're not going to the fair tonight, you have to eat your carrots. And, you know, to kind of delay the thing, you know, my daughter said that she had to go to the bathroom, which, you know, okay, you know, go to the bathroom. That's okay. The carrots will be here for you when you come back. And you know, the whole time as she's walking, she's mumbling to herself how bad daddy is because daddy's not going to let her go to the fair and she's not eating those carrots. And she sounds like an evil scientist. I'll never eat those carrots, never, I tell you. And me and my wife, we're laughing, and we're trying not to let her see us laugh, but it's funny. And if she's in the bathroom mumbling to herself, all of a sudden that fun just stopped for me for a second. I had to just kind of shake my head, and my wife is looking at me, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. And I mean, I had to shake that memory. And she's like, well, what is it? And I said, well, it's just, you know, if I was a kid, I mean, first of all, just if I didn't just shut up and eat those carrots, I would have got smacked in the mouth right here at the table. There's no way I would have been able to get up to go to the bathroom. But in the event that I did, and I walked away and I was just kind of mumbling myself, he would have followed me into the bathroom and beat the shit out of me. And you know, my wife, she's holding my hand. She's saying, I know. I mean, you're just, you broke that cycle. And, you know, I mean, it makes me feel good that happened. But, you know, those kind of memories come back to you. So, you know, I mean, my daughter comes back to the table after going to the bathroom, and you know, and the long story short, she never did eat the carrots. I decided that it wasn't worth somebody getting their ass kicked over some carrots. So, you don't want to eat your carrots, fine. You go in your room there and you just, you know, watch your cartoon, and you know, you're not asking for any snacks, no candy, no nothing, because you're not eating your carrots. And she, you know, stormed off into the room, closed the door. She laid down in the bed. She was quiet. No problems, no fighting, nothing. When I went into the room, it was hi daddy and everything was good. Nobody had to get their ass kicked over those carrots. Nobody won. She did not get, we both lost, really. That's just how you have to look at it. She didn't get the nutrition that she needed, and I didn't get her to eat her carrots. But you know what? She will get those vitamins, and she will get them in another way. We don't have to beat her ass over carrots. Dad. Nobody had to get their ass kicked. Nobody had to get punched in the mouth. Nobody has to eat carrots for breakfast. She's going to get her nutrition. She's going to get it another way, and we'll keep working on her with the carrots, and eventually she might eat them. Dick. Sorry, I have to do that once in a while. So, I mean, am I wrong about this? I mean, please, if somebody actually does watch this, let me know what you think. I mean, am I reaching for something there? Was I right? Am I right on how something like that should be handled? I think that I was right. And I think that in the times where I face myself in those situations, I never have to punch my daughter in the face. Never. It never has to go to that point. I may yell sometimes to get my point across, but I never have to hit her. I never have to punch her in her mouth. I never have to tell her how worthless she is, or any of that stuff. This is what it means to not be a narc. I'm on board, man. I'm on board. So, you know, if you like it, please, you know, leave me a like. So, you know, maybe it'll help others be able to find this. You know, if you want to do the same thing, you want to leave a link for your little video blog or whatever, by all means, leave your link down in my comments. So if someone looks at mine, and if they read the comments, they might find yours. They might find your blog and be able to listen to your story. It helps. It's therapeutic to listen to your own. I listen to Ollie's. There's a couple more that I've been listening to that are pretty good. You know, I'm not ready to name anybody's name yet, but if I feel like I'm getting something out of it, I mean, by all means, I'll definitely share it with you, because this is about help. So I'm in another one of my buildings, and I'm going to go make Daddy proud and be a toilet bowl cleaner. So be good. Be good to your your kids. Be good to your family. And if you were abused by a narcissist, if you had that do everything you can to make sure that you don't follow in those narcissistic footsteps. Your family will love you for it forever.